Hi, and welcome to another episode of Wine and Wisdom. I'm Thomas Hoang, and you're listening to the TL podcast, where knowledge is shared and no one takes themselves too seriously.
Something.
Chris has disappeared.
Oh, this will be the best podcast we've ever done.
Oh,
Thank you.
I
He
know,
came back.
he's back.
Bad luck, Wilson. Bad luck.
Good afternoon.
Good
Ladies and gents.
afternoon.
Well, congratulations to you, Cam, Salesperson of the Year, Sales Assistant of the Year, Receptionist of the Year.
I just use my receptionist skills to great effect.
And most importantly for you, Ambassador finalist. Wow, how good is that?
Yeah, well deserved, mate.
Good job.
Well deserved, mate.
Yeah. I just let you know I did not nominate you into the finalist.
Oh no.
I don't know how you made the list because there's a.
I think the funniest thing you said all of yesterday was, "Oh, Cam probably thinks I voted for him." There isn't a single doubt in my mind that you voted for me for nothing. I'm under no illusions that you would ever vote for me, mate. It's okay.
I wouldn't even compare you to nothing. I wouldn't insult the word nothing.
Oh, that's
Wow.
harsh, man. That's harsh, right?
Nothing like what's on top of your head.
Who needs enemies? Who needs enemies when you got friends like?
Wow, we're on fire early.
Yes, he's coming on strong.
Congratulations anyway. Hey, listen, it's a big one. Ambassador, big one. You're defending the organization. Well done.
Well
And
done,
I appreciate it.
Well
Thank you.
deserved.
Juan, your team on fire this year. And congratulations to the Port Macquarie office for Office of the Year finalists. That is big. Top
That
five.
is a big one.
Way bigger than Ambassador. I mean, that's amazing.
And Chris, congratulations on
Participation medal.
Do I get one?
congratulations on being invited to the night, mate. Well done.
Get a gold star.
Invited. I'm going to play my own way. What do you mean invited?
I think I just did myself. I'm back to number 6, mate. That wasn't very ambassadorial of me. So
Are we on? Because I can't see it, guys.
Yeah, we're on. We're on.
we're on, mate. It's just the usual crowd. There's not a lot to see, brother. Can we drink if we can call it that?
I have to say it because I've said that on Tuesday. I spoke to the property management team session today, and I told them the one person may be invited to Tuesday night, and that person, when I give them the signal, will have to write Mr. Wong on screen. So the first person to write me will be invited. One ticket only, and you cannot give it to somebody else.
And you can't be a vegan or a vegetarian, and you can't drink water.
Yeah,
Or
that's
in property management. You can't be in property management either. So the first one, good luck.
You can't be in real estate.
Or be breathing. You can't be breathing.
Yeah, no, we're on. We're on, Thomas. We're definitely on.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I've got it now. It's going. All right, let's start with the wine. Louise first.
Okay, so let me start with this one. You guys, if we were on air, it would have been a delight, but the public just missed it. It nearly exploded through my roof cavity. I took the nice metal thing that holds the cork off a little early, and it nearly went through my roof. Anyway, this is a GH Mumm, which is the Tasmanian sparkling. It was actually only released in October, so last month. It's the first of its kind. Do you guys know where the GH Mumm name comes from?
France, usually.
It's a German
Close.
origin, so the Germans went to the area of France where they get the champagne. Sorry, Cam, did you say something?
I said Thomas is drinking water. I just barred water from the podcast.
Yes.
Isn't GH the letters of the grape that they use?
You will understand very soon why I'm on water.
GH Mount Franklin he's on.
Anyway, as I said, it's its first of its kind from Tassie. The sales of sparkling wine from Tassie in the last 2 years have exploded. So,
Like your bottle.
$74 million worth of sparkling wine gets exported out of Tassie now. So that's pretty impressive. So it's obviously good. Pretty good. That's
good.
me.
Sparkling and banjos, that's what they're known for. Ding, 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 ding. Anyway, That might be the
Have to get
first.
down there in
That might be
February.
the first sparkling ever on the podcast. It's meant to be wine and wisdom, Lou. What are you doing?
Well,
It wasn't
what did
your
I do wrong?
non-alcoholic.
We had a criteria. It couldn't be.
Actually, we'll see it, but next week that's going to be a sparkling, a champagne.
Right. Well, I got a sparkling from Tasmania
Oh, I did see that one.
because when the bloke running the show says you have to pick a Tasmanian wine, but it can't be anything that's made actually in Tasmania, all you're left with is sparkling. So
Mhm.
I have a
Arras.
Brut Elite from the House of Arras. Now this is a 1601 batch, a 1501 batch won every award there is to win for sparkling wine in Australia, which is probably nothing to write home about because it isn't French, but they'll take it. Not a very old winery, 1988 it started, so it's a lot younger than everybody else here.
Mm-hmm.
And because we had no other option, we're drinking fake champagne. So thanks for that, TL. Good on you. And
Wait, Chris.
wait.
So I went to
Wait.
northern north, right up north of Tasmania, really north in the Pinot Noir wine
So
region.
in Cairns.
I'm joking. I got
Ooh,
I found
Nine
a
Island.
Sauv Blanc. So a Sauv Blanc called Ninth Island, comes from Tasmania.
We've barred Sauv Blanc from this. We can't have Sauv Blanc on this podcast. I'm leaving the day we drink Sauv Blanc.
That's why I've got water here as well, just because I need to wash it down. But yeah, so it's a 2023 Sauv Blanc. Yeah, so it should be pretty.
2023.
Oh, the Tasmanians are so advanced; they're making it in advance now, right? So,
Oh, Chris.
You guys are disqualified because you should have read my stuff. I said a wine from Tasmania, and mine it's Leopold, Tasmania. It's not from Tasmania, but it's got the name Tasmania on it. It's from South Australia.
Oh,
Oh my God. And the worst thing is, I mean, a full discussion.
You didn't know.
And we're talking and telling this week's going to be this because in February with my leaders we're going over there and we're going to be visiting Tasmania. So I want a wine that is not a Chardonnay, a Pinot Noir, a Pinot Gris, but that has to be from Tasmania. And we're discussing this one.
that's funny.
Well, when I say from Tasmania, it has to be from Leopold, Tasmania. You understand?
so really,
Which part of Tasmania is Leopold in, mate?
Effectively, I'm the only one who got a wine from Tasmania. You got
That's
bubbly
not a wine, mate. That's a Sauv Blanc.
That's true. Furniture polish.
Anyway,
Oh,
cheers.
what's this week?
Hey?
Cheers.
Got great again?
Cheers.
Yes, we do. Thanks for ruining it for me, Thomas. But
Oh my
we're back,
God.
baby. We're back.
What does that actually say?
It says make America great again. Donald Trump just
Oh.
announced he's running for the 2024 election. We're back.
He still has the old the hat, the old sticker, because it's now great and glorious. Great and glorious. All right.
I couldn't spell well, mate. Like most Trump supporters, I don't spell very well, mate. So Magaga.
I can lift a gun. I just can't spell it.
How good? How bonkers is that country? How bonkers
Oh,
is
wow.
it? How bonkers is it? So a bloke to get out of being jailed by the FBI is running for president again. The other bloke didn't know because he was asleep.
In Colombia.
Greatest country on planet Earth. Greatest country on planet Earth.
He was in Colombia. Did you hear about that? He's in Cambodia for the moment, right? He's about to, and then and when he first
That'll
arrived,
wake him up.
he thanked everyone, and he thanked the prime minister of the country for putting it on. He says, "I'd like to thank the prime minister of Colombia."
Oh,
Cambodia. And
it's just
everyone's gonna jump on that. I mean, the guy says some good stuff too.
I'm sorry.
These are the people we
I'm sorry,
follow
I
into
understand
war.
Where he's coming from. I mistook Austria and Australia. So, all right. So I can understand Cambodia, Colombia. Just give the guy a break, man. Seriously.
These are the people we follow into war.
Yeah, exactly.
Trump got up yesterday and said the war in Ukraine would never have started if I was in charge. The same bloke who invented the vaccine.
Yeah.
I love the guy. I love him. I sent Jack a photo of me wearing this hat, and the abuse hasn't stopped. Anyway.
Listen, I'm going to say a few times, but we know that on the 22nd is a nice dinner at Mr. Hoang. The whole bunch of us going to be there. And let's forget that it's your punishment. Even though you're punished, let's make sure that we understand it is Crystal and Cam's wedding anniversary. So and so at one stage,
need all the help I can get
during the I'm going to say the first person who write Mr. Hoang on screen now is the person we invite. That will be the person we'll invite. You can't pass on that ticket to anybody else. And it's just one ticket only, because at $12,000 a ticket, we can't give more than one.
And Thomas has a spare bed at his place.
No, it's going to be at your hotel room.
Well, someone's got to use it, mate.
All right, so let's introduce a topic, Chris, this week.
All right. Most people don't change. Why? And what should they do? That's the topic. Big topic. Huge.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Nah. Listen, nah. Put some more photos.
Oh, why don't we start with you, Chris? I mean, you open the topic. You might as well.
Yeah, sure. I think it's a very interesting question to start with. If you just dissect the question first, I think we've got to not take it for granted that everybody wants to change. I don't think everybody wants to change. It says most people. Yeah, there are some people out there just are happy in their lot. And some people are doing very well for themselves. So if they change, they might go backwards. But those people are usually striving to be better anyway. But I think first we've got to acknowledge that there's some people out there with just happy how things are, happy with the everyday humdrum that they're living through at the time. Apart from that, I think most people are afraid of change because they're afraid of change. Most people won't change because they're afraid of change. It's the unknown. That's the first thing I'd probably say as a why, is they're afraid of what could possibly happen.
Yeah.
Whether it's failure or whatever, we can go into that and dissect it. I just don't want to say
good. I like that. I had three.
No, let's start with one. So
I'd similar to Chris, right? I broke people down because I broke people down into three categories, and Chris has just added a fourth, which is good. I had category one, which is don't want to change. Category two, don't think they need to change, so don't. Category three, want to, but it all seems too hard. And then I like Chris's thing, man. Might want to, but are scared to. So I think the first two categories we can't really help. Not everyone has to change.
Yeah.
I think that's a point. Not everyone has to change, and if maybe a lot of people realise they probably have to change but don't want to, and you can't help someone who doesn't want to.
Yeah.
And you can't help someone who doesn't think they need to. So we focus on the people that want to but think it's too hard, or that want to and are scared of doing it.
Yeah, great. Lou, anything?
Yeah. I think people take, a whole lot of comfort in what's familiar, and I think it's what's the unfamiliar that scares people. Because what you are used to being and feeling and thinking is comfortable for a lot of people, and to start to unlearn or to unthink certain things is hard for people to change. I think the other thing is people sometimes, as you guys,
got a wind chime going off.
Yeah, that is a wind chime. It's mine.
That's telling you to wrap it up, Renee.
Sorry.
It's the wind chime saying stop.
I just want to make sure people understand. When I tell you now. You can write Mr. Wong. Don't write Mr. Wong now.
Now, don't write Mr. Wong now.
Auction, don't write Mr. Wong now. You must wait.
If there's a lot of them, TL, let's just auction off a ticket and give it to those poor bastards on the block who won nothing for 3 months of work.
You know what? Why don't we do that and give it to them? Give it to the Children's Hospital at the poker tournament.
I can't be at the poker tournament. I've got Guns and Roses that night. Can we give me the money? Let's auction it off and give the money to me. I'm good.
Well, you're still paying off the last dinner.
No, the last one we ate his kids' Christmas presents. Remember?
Hey, dinner, don't worry about dinner. I'm still paying off Singapore.
Anyway, shall
Right,
I?
sorry, let's go back to the
No, the wind chime said no. TL, what do you got?
It stopped. It stopped. No, I think. Oh, sorry. You go then.
I think that I think that most people can't change more than anything else. I think they have bad association.
Can't change.
They don't change. They don't change mainly, even if they want to, or even if they want to, but are scared or they're afraid of the unknown. I think they need to also understand that the decision to make a change is not enough. You also have to change your surroundings. So the first bit of your surrounding, I think, is association. In there is the mastermind group, which I'll talk a bit later on, but you're gonna have to change your association if you want to give change a chance.
Yeah.
Right. After saying why people don't change, I focused on group 3, which was why is it too hard? And we're guilty on this podcast of making change sound bloody hard. Our favourite line is change is hard, right? We harp on about it, harp on about it, and harp on about it. So I don't blame people for going, shit, it's all too hard.
Jordan Peterson's, man. Jordan Peterson's book.
Oh, mate, change is hard, change is hard, change is hard. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll change. Yeah, no, it doesn't sound like a great advertisement for
No, it's not true. The reason I think that we have been very realistic is Viktor Frankl in his book, Men in Search of Meaning, he says, when people are prepared for what's the worst outcome, then they know what's going. When they're in la la land and think that's going to be fine, it's going to be fine, and I'm going to change like this overnight. Those people in the concentration camp died first. And I think that, yeah, to some people, we preaching the negative. No, we never did that. We preach it. It's not easy.
I understand, but hearing change is hard all the time doesn't make you want to jump into that pool, does it? Water's cold, water's cold. Hang on, let me get in there. So, but why is it too hard? So change one takes a lot of work, which scares a lot of people off.
I think we need to talk about more the reasons why people don't change. I don't think we've covered that very well.
Yeah. One of the things I'd like to bring up is our good mate here wrote a book recently, NGE, right? And I think a lot of people haven't got their handle on their own holdbacks yet, and I think they need to. Yeah. That's something that's holding a lot of people back from change. That there's something holding them back, and there's solutions in that book, right? It's a solution, it's a recipe, but you've got to cook it yourself, so to speak.
Before we go on to solutions, we need to.
I'm not going on to solutions, but what I'm going on is people have a hookup, a crutch that they can't get over. It's like an alcoholic doesn't have alcoholic knows they're an alcoholic until it's too much of a problem. They know they've got a problem, but they've got to then deal with it. Sometimes you don't know you're an alcoholic or a drug dependent or whatever it may be. So I think realizing what that crutch or that hookup is, that anchor is, so you can help yourself move forward. I think that's a big thing of why people
I'm
don't.
just saying it sounds any good to people.
Yeah, but
it's a lot of work. Changing doesn't feel. The process of going through change doesn't feel good, so people don't.
You know, Ken, there's a saying: change is painful, but staying the same is worse.
I understand.
Even a change for the better is accompanied with drawbacks and discomfort. You know, so we don't want to sound like it's all. You know,
no, I'm trying to address the reason why people don't lean towards change. Why people don't lean towards change, and then we can talk about how they can fix it.
Well, that's what I want to get to.
One, we're not there yet. One, it takes a lot of work. Two, the process doesn't feel good. If you're going to go through real change, you're up for some hard times. And back to being afraid, why wouldn't you be afraid of that?
Yeah, but
And I think number three, which we're going to get to, is they don't know where to start, because change is a big word.
yeah.
Change is a massive word.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's very general.
I think, yeah.
Now go into how everybody changes.
Well, we're not
No, but
stopped yet.
but
We're
we
not finished
haven't
yet. We've got stuff to say, mate. I know you like to have the limelight. We haven't got finished where's the buddy, right?
We haven't
So
even
let's change
discussed
for a minute.
what-
And be
Go on
quiet.
ahead 40 minutes.
Shut up. Go, Lou.
Basically, what I wanted to say is people don't want to change because, or they don't change because they don't want to look too closely because they're scared of what they might see, you know. And that's the thing. If you don't know who you are and what you want, how can you possibly know what you need to change? And I think that's a big one, because a lot of people just, you know, go through life acting and being and feeling and being a certain way, but it's probably a product of their environment. They don't know who they are. They're not following their true values or dreams or whatever. The other thing I think is a big one is sometimes people don't change because of fear of expectation. Because if you see yourself go to another level, then basically you've got to lift to that level, and that scares people, you know. So people see there's the need to change and become better, but there's that level of expectation that comes with that, and that's what scares people into changing as well.
I think people also don't think that it will work.
Yeah.
That you know, oh, if I change, it'll just be the same. They don't believe in the actual process or in the destination. So maybe lack of a goal or lack of values, and they haven't got true values for themselves which drive them forward, whether it's bettering themselves or their family or their allotment in life or whatever it might be. So there's quite a few things there that I love the saying that goes, everybody wants to get to heaven, but nobody wants to die to get there. I've heard that saying so many times, and I love it because I think it's really poignant on this topic specifically. Is that a lot of people do want to change, but they just don't want to go through that pain, as we were saying, Cam, before, of doing the work.
Exactly.
I don't think a lot of people do. So,
yeah, exactly.
Any more other whys, Mr. Wilson?
No, don't worry about me. I don't know what I'm talking about.
No one said that. You said that, but that's all good.
No, I still have some. The why is that first I spoke about changing the association, but it's the second bit is about changing the triggers. If you live in the same environment and you do the same thing and you surround yourself with the same kind of triggers, then it's going to be impossible for you to do the change. Then, you know, so when you do a change, it's not just a change in you. It's not about making a new decision. It's about changing everything, the routines that you're doing, but more or less the triggers. For example, the guy that wakes up in the morning and he says, from here on, I'm going to be positive. But then he keeps on turning on the radio or the television with bad news. It's not going to change because just that is a trigger. Now, it's a trigger that to go to the kitchen, he has to walk past the television. He sees the television, remote control, trigger. He turns it on. So you have to change these things. If you want to get rid of the news, don't just get rid of the decision. Maybe you should take the remote control and lock it up somewhere further than apparently 25 seconds. Because when it's further than 25 seconds, we don't want to go and do it. It's too far, it's too long, it's too hard.
That's horseshit, mate. The pub is 2 minutes and 43 seconds from my house, and I'll walk there at any time. Anytime. So that's horseshit. I can call.
I read something recently. It says we judge ourselves on our intentions. So we intend to do something, so we judge ourselves on that. That I think it leads people towards believing they may be changing, but not changing. Where others judge us on our actions.
Yep.
And I think that's where a lot of us become unstuck. Our intention is to not go to the pub or not turn on television or whatever it may be, but our actions aren't being followed through. And those intentions aren't being followed through with action. So I think that's another reason why maybe we're not changing as we should.
I think too, also another one is, you know, feeling walled off, like walls. People put walls up, and usually kids, if they've grown up feeling unloved, unaccepted, unimportant, they wall themselves off, which is a good thing to protect you as a child. But as you get into an adult, those things are the very things that stop you from allowing you to connect with other people. And so, people just want to remain the same. The familiar is the comfort, and I think that's another reason why people, again, it falls back into people just either don't know how to, don't realize that they are walled off to begin with. I think a lot of it just, it's something that we grow up into feeling and doing and living certain ways. And a lot of the time we don't even realize we're being that person. Like, for example, the walled off person, you don't realize that you're being that person. And that's what's stopping you and allowing for change that is required.
Do you guys think that as a society, sorry, Cam, do you think...
You're not sorry.
No, I'm not. Do you think, guys, as a society, we are bred for comfort? Is comfort intrinsic into our being for the majority of people? Because if that is the case, that would be one of the hugest reasons that people don't change.
Yeah.
I think we're still making it too complicated, guys.
But
Cam,
it's got to be. It's got to
steal a line from Thomas and go, I've just been sitting here listening, and I wouldn't want to change, listen to all that. The first problem is change is too broad. Change,
if you don't want to change, it's fine, but that's you. That's why you don't change. But I look at some of the other guys and I can see them changing by the week. I mean,
happy for you all to come at me. That's great. But let's just hear me out. I said last week, we really need to dumb it down for people. Dumb's the wrong word, but simplify it for people, because it's too hard to look after staff, apparently. So we can't expect to sit here and rabbit on about change this and change that, and people to go, yep, that sounds like, again, a pool I want to jump into. The first thing I think people have to do is decide what they want to, or know what they want to change. Change what? I need to change.
We're talking the next level already. But right now, Cam, the other...
Okay, people don't change because it's too broad a term. They don't know what they want to change.
About the why. So we're exploring the why. We have not gone into what they need to be doing.
Right.
Yep.
So the why is because they don't have a what.
No, so no,
the why they don't change is because they don't know where to start, because they don't know what am I changing.
Yeah, but it's a little bit big, that one. It's, I think we're trying to be a little bit more specific. Let me tell you my thinking about why people don't change. I think because their partner's got too much NGE. I think that if you have a partner who's got plenty of NGE, it's very difficult for you to change, because as you change, I was talking about it today in the property management and explained to them that it's very important for them to work on their NGE, which is not good enough, because that feeling does a lot of silly things. So two people fall in love, one happens to be very insecure, wants love all the time, wants to feel like he's secure. And I was talking to a mate of mine this morning about it, and he's putting his house on the market now. It's been and it's happening for a second time, a divorce. Why? Because he got into that relationship. He's highly insecure. He's trying to do everything for his wife to feel like that she made the right decision, loving him. And what happened is that she was highly insecure, but he didn't know. So she's taking more. She's the NG like taken, so she's taking more and more and more. She needs to see that he's giving her all that love. And what happened is that when the guy wants to change, it doesn't fit the agenda, because if you're changing, you're also changing, you're improving. Change is always about improvement. So if you're improving, you're getting stronger. I don't like that, because it's going to be much harder for me to get that security out of him. And so they now do certain things to stop you from doing that. And after a little while, you give up and you go back to your old ways, because there's no conflict on that side, and you still fit that mold. And what you don't know is that you've been taken advantage of by an insecure NG person who needed that to feel secure.
Yeah, exactly right. You do see that a lot, and like in a similar situation to what Thomas is talking about, where you see one person just, exactly like you said, gives and gives and gives, because that they're feeling And I suppose a lot of the time in relationships where one of them's got a lot of NGE, a lot of the times I find that the other person also has a lot of NGE, and they feed each other. They feed off of it, and it becomes this snowball effect, and it's just not healthy and toxic. And I think, yeah, I don't know. We're probably going to go off track talking about it too much.
So
but I
we're
think-
on the why. So is there any other why that you'd like to take on? Otherwise, we go on to the next subject.
Yeah.
Okay, Ken, would you like to take us on to the next bit then? We finished the why.
Okay. So I guess then who are we talking to now? So we're talking to the people who want to change but don't know how, the people who think they need to change but don't know where to start, I guess, is who we're talking to.
It doesn't really matter. Let's talk about what should change. What should people
Most people think it's too hard. And I think most people think it's too hard because the term is too broad. And it sounds like a whole lot. I think we set goals for everything we do at work and how fast we want to run and all that sort of stuff. But when it comes to change, I don't think we get specific enough and actually work out first what it is we want to change. I think people have a feeling that something's not right, but they don't have a vision attached to it as to what might not be right. Because I think if you can nail down one thing that you would like to change, then from there you can work backwards and set steps to get there. That's easy. But feeling like I need to change or being told you need to change is too hard.
But I get that, but I mean, if a person wants to change, they will be really, they'd be a psycho to say, I just want to change. They will want to know what they want to change, right?
Well, I don't think people do. We know people where we go, man, you need to change, otherwise this isn't going to work, or you need to change, or that, and it's too hard. But whereas I think if we said to that person, or that person said, right, from tomorrow I'm going to, instead of try and change 10 things, there's one thing I can identify that's very specific that I can do something with. I think that all of a sudden becomes easier for people. I think change we say to people, you haven't had a bad day, you might have had a whole 5 minutes. Don't throw the whole day in together, because there will be parts of the day that were good and parts of the day that were bad. We have to break down.
If I had to say to someone, you have to change, they wouldn't know.
Hey?
If I said to someone, you have to change, they wouldn't know where to start. But if
That's
I said,
what I'm saying.
well, so when
I think that's the problem. We go, oh, you haven't changed. Well, change what? Change which?
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit ambiguous. I'll give it to you. There's no problem.
That's specific. I think that's
People who want to change, they know what they want to change. I want to become a better leader. I want to be better at listening. I want.
What aspect of leadership? Better leader. That's a broad term again.
Okay, but it's then I want to change.
Yeah.
All right. So at least they have something, and then we if you're talking about we need to be more specific and cut the parts into smaller parts, fine. But nobody here would say to someone, you just have to change.
Yeah. And change can be, look, it could be the attitude, it could be the habits, it could be the hurtful behavior that somebody's portraying that they don't even realize that they're portraying it. I don't think we're sitting here talking about us, like obviously we all need to change at some point in our lives, and we do change as we get older. But I think what we're looking at is when we observe somebody who probably doesn't realize that they need to change because they don't realize they're acting or doing a certain thing. Why don't they change? Sometimes they don't know. Sometimes they're not aware.
We've talked about why they haven't.
I know, Cam, but you've got to let me finish.
Just stop. First of all, you need to let finish. But I just want to say now, from here on, when we're talking about someone changing, we know what we want them to change. So let's not go into the universe and just use the word change. So let's say when we talk to someone, we know I would like to change from being highly insecure about me in the relationship to being secure about me in the relationship. That's what. All right.
That's right. So so what I was saying is the change can be across the attitude, the hurtful behaviors or traits, the habits that people have. Yes, it's a broad term, but I think the thing is what we're talking about, not necessarily from us, Cam, but for people that we observe. Sometimes people engage in behaviors that serve their purpose, and sometimes they don't even realize what their purpose is because it might be coming from an NG level. But we always engage in behaviors that provide something for us, and that's what, again, getting back to somebody who might be acting in a hurtful way or have a hurtful trait, may not even realize that they have a hurtful trait, but that's providing something for them. They're engaging in some activity or behavior that serves a purpose for them. If they have trouble with confrontation or something, it's this behavior that allows them to meet that purpose. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's easy to look at somebody and go, okay, look, yeah, you've had a bad day, but don't let that ruin your attitude. And your attitude is basically an evaluation of a person, an object, a time, an event. So to change someone's attitude is quite simple. Hey, listen, exactly that, Cam. It's just a bad day. It's not a bad life.
Let's start talking about how people can change, because we've done now half an hour on why. Let's go on to how, because I think that people would wonder. And yes, people, I have not said Mr. Hoang yet. So you have to. All right, let's go. So who's got what?
I've got one.
I'll kick off. I'll start with one of the ones I had. I think one of the first steps to change is understanding that change is an inside game. It's an internal process, mentally, physically. I think it's an internal thing. However, you need outside help with that inside game, and that, Cam, and it might sound difficult. I'll simplify it. I believe everyone's got access to almost all the same information. And all the same tools. It's a matter of researching, do the work, find out what you need to do, a little bit of self-searching and so forth. I think that's the first step to the change is, knowing where to change, and it's nothing externally needs to change. It's all internally.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I wrote down is people must meet the 4 prerequisites to change, and that is, 1, people have got to be ready to change, because how many times have we said the student will appear when the teacher will appear when the student's ready? People have got to be ready to change. People have got to be intentional about their wanting to change. People have to be self-aware, Chris, exactly like what you said, and you've got to have the willpower to do it. If you don't have pretty much all of those 4 things, the change might happen and last momentarily, but it won't be a forever change.
Okay, we still haven't given them the how they're going to do it.
Okay.
It's okay.
So all right. So
I think what the two of you have been speaking about is that you have to have a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
That's still not the thing, right? I get it. I have the mindset to bake a cake, but that still doesn't bring the cake to life.
I think, and Thomas alluded it to before when we talk about association. So I think after awareness comes your association, and I think for a lot of people that's the hardest one to actually sort out. Now, I was in that boat a long time ago, and I talk to people now who don't have the association around them. So sort of Chris touched on it. You've got to want it inside, but you can't do it by yourself. So books, man, pick up a book. Started a book.
Yeah.
You started a book, and then
Yeah, but Cam, it's not that easy, man. I've been writing this book, and I've been now researching and doing a lot of marketing on that. I am dumbfounded to realize that most people, especially in Australia, in some parts of the world, they're different. They don't want to read.
Mm.
They want to be spoon-fed. They want someone to give.
That goes back to wanting to change or not wanting to change. They
want to change for sure.
They want to change, or they want someone to do it for them. You can't. So that's the point. That goes back to why people don't change. They want someone to do it for them, or it's always somebody else's responsibility, not theirs. That's back in the whys, right? That's a good one for why don't people change? Because it's always somebody else's fault. That's why they'll never change, right? I haven't changed because of you, right?
Inside game.
But if you don't have access to, the idea with association or with anything, if you want to know how to make money, find someone who's made money and ask them how they did it. There's nothing, once you've identified what it is you want to change, I know I keep harping on about that, but I reckon I'm right and the rest of you are wrong. Identify what it is you want to change, then find someone who's done it or a book that can tell you how to do it. It's got to be the start.
I don't disagree with you on that, Cam. I don't disagree with you. One of my points was spend time working out what's important, your values and your goals, and then that sort of will help you lead to what you need to change.
Close your eyes. Another one. Close your eyes and write down who you want to be or who you think you want to be. That might be a starting point.
On association, I think having a mentor is very important. But what are you raising your hand?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know whether he had something insightful or something smart ass to say. So you got cut off.
Having a mentor is important, but I think unfortunately a lot of people find a mentor that will give them a pity party when they're having a problem and not tell them how it is. Suck it up, princess, get back to work, whatever it may be. And I think that's one of the big things is you need a mentor. Once you've worked out what you want to do, like Cam's saying, hey, it's an internal game with external help, go and get those books, get those people that will help you, tell them, and people that will tell you the truth. And if you need to pay for it, pay for it. If you're serious about change, take the action. The unfortunate thing is, like you Cam said, everybody wants the effect without the effort.
I think what's dangerous about the world at the moment, sorry, Lou, just on this very point.
Yeah.
And now I'll make a broad term, but what's dangerous about the world at the moment is people don't want to read. So because they don't want to read, a 10-second YouTube clip is how they're going to change.
Yep.
Now, unfortunately, if you've written a book, and I don't take any credit from this at all, TL, because I'm not talking about you, okay? If you've written a book, you've had the idea, the discipline, the work to do it, the sleepless nights to go and put 300 pages together. A 10-second video clip from a fraud is what people are more interested in listening to. So the reason we say read is because so much more intellect will come out of a book than will come out of it. Anyone can get up in any industry. Real estate agents do it every day. I'll show you how to list 100 properties a year. They've listed one. But if I'm not saying there aren't bad books out there, but if someone's gone to all the trouble to write a book, you're in a much better position than you are watching anything on YouTube or Instagram.
But that's exactly getting back to change, Cam. People who have always just relied on YouTube, for them to start reading a book requires massive change, and people just aren't ready. They need a life quake. They need something. You know, when most change happens, when something of a catastrophe is felt, like a death, a divorce, a loss of bankrupt, like all these life quake things happen. That's when people change. The only time people really change is when the pain's just too much. Until the pain gets to that level, people won't change. And that's the sad reality. People need to have a wake-up call or a sad situation to prompt change. I think getting back to how do people change, people need to be self-compassionate. People need to open themselves up to new ways of thinking and feeling, because until you're prepared to do that, it's, you've got to unthink a lot of things, and you've got to unlearn a lot of things. And that's the thing about behavior. We aren't born behaving a certain way. Behavior is what we learn along the way. So therefore, if it's been learned, it can be unlearned. And that's what we've got to remember. We have to open ourselves up to think and feel different ways. The other thing, you need to understand what triggers you. And that comes back to the self-awareness thing. If people don't know why they do what they do, they don't understand why they act the way that they act. You know what I mean? So people need to also be prepared to be accountable.
I think that Charlotte has done a bloody good job here. She said expensive lunch and dinner will help you change. I do agree.
True. Although, does it?
I think that when you hurt people's back pocket, they'll stop. Like we have stopped swearing, and it's taken us a little bit. And I still remember when we went to dinner, and Cam's wife said, even this dinner won't change him. That was the wrong thing to say to me, because I caught wind of that. And I went, this is going to change. You will see how I make it happen. Because I've learned a long time ago, if $400 doesn't change a person, 4,000. If after 4,000 doesn't change 40,000, then you will see the change, So I think that when the lunches are expensive enough, people change, no matter what. You do whatever. I've taken people who said, I am never on time anywhere, Thomas. And after a few changes, expensive for their pocket. They've never been laid around me.
Thomas, I'll disagree with you on this, and not because of obviously the lunches stop swearing.
If the pain is big enough, Louise, people will stop. And it doesn't matter you disagree, man. I have not heard you use the F word anymore on this podcast.
No, I don't disagree. For certain people,
Use it.
for certain people,
More
yes,
than to use it.
mate, I know people, and you know people who are losing $100,000 a month and still won't change.
Because they don't see the loss. When they see the loss,
They go, I can't do a lunch because, you know, we're losing $100,000 a month, so we can't. They still don't change.
because they don't see that loss. All right, let's move on with what we're doing. I think that how you can change is by having a mastermind group. And I spoke to people today. Mastermind groups got these conditions. First, you have to be around people who want the best for you. If you're not around people who want the best for you, it's a wrong mastermind group. But I said to them, the most important thing that you have to have is you must make sure that in your mastermind group, you only have people who have less NGE than you. Big problem that a lot of people have, especially the group of leaders who's just been to the conference with me, is that they have their partner straight away in their mastermind group. They say, man, you're the most important person for me. So I want to, no, that's your lover. That's your partner. Fine. But they do not qualify for being your mastermind group, because if they have more NGE than you, how the hell are they going to help you improve? You have to go to people who have less than you, because they're the one pulling you out. So I see people, for example, they go to a father-in-law, a brother, because, you know, we like this. No, because if they have the same NGE and they talk crap with you and they agree all the time, every single time you go into that anxiety panic mode, you got a problem. You have to cut them off. So it has to be a person stronger. And last point, I said today to them, it has to be someone who will never let you quit. Right? They have to be at it. Then you have the right person in your mastermind. If people did that, you will see the change that happens in people. All right.
Very good.
The next how? Anybody else got the how?
I got one. Habits. You've got to be aware of your bad habits. And there's no use saying that I'm gonna stop this habit. You need to replace a bad with a good. And it doesn't have to be on a large scale. It can be on a really small scale. And you bring up being late. Thomas, if you're late to work every morning, just start by getting out of bed 5 minutes early every day. Doesn't have to be a huge change, maybe then 10 minutes early. But I think one of those things is the habits. But you also have, and you brought it up earlier when we were talking about why, is the triggers. You need to be, again, that brings back to that self-awareness. Are your habits connected to triggers? And if they are, you need to be aware of those triggers so then you can adjust things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very important.
Just on the habit thing, I think habits are a lot of the time something we do on autopilot and we don't even realize we do them sometimes. So I think it's important to also people understand the difference between habits and behaviors, because habits, as I said, you can walk out, you get home from work, you throw your boots off, you pick up the remote, or you grab your beer, you go sit on the lounge. But your behavior is usually something that is influenced by an internal or external influence, basically. And so I think that's the other thing. When people, a lot of the time, people need to change, I think it's their behavior that they need to change. Sometimes, you know, more importantly than their habits, because again, they don't realize that they behave a certain way. And so when they're triggered by something that somebody says, or somebody acts a certain way, and then in that moment they feel unloved, unworthy, or whatever, then their behavior changes, and that's when the damaging part comes into play. So I think, you know, people need to be aware of what triggers them, and it's just going back around in circles what we've already said, but self-awareness, what triggers you, then that determines how you act, and then but how you act is then where sometimes the good or the bad happens. It's a very in-depth topic, isn't it?
No,
No,
it's-
it's not that in depth. I think you just got to be aware of what happens and what triggers you. And nah, that's okay. I just thought I'd continue.
but you're about to get me unleashed onto you. Man,
Yeah, come on, man. Come on, man. Run at me. I'm drinking I'm drinking sparkling on a bloody wine podcast. I think
to me, a big problem is that a lot of people do change on the surface.
Mm.
And I think that when you do change on the surface, the change that we're talking about is the change in being, and the change in being is always very deep.
Yeah.
The surface change are not enough.
Yeah.
And when you do being, you have to change almost yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If I was talking to this mate of mine this morning, and actually he's waiting for my call to talk to him again, but and I said to him, it's funny thing, you know, when you went through last time, I took you to my place and you were at my place, and we discussed about all this, and I said to you, one of the things that you should never lose is your relationship. Whether you have a partner or not, your relationship should stay, because they are there to make you who you are. Mm-hmm. And when you had that relationship, you just shut me off. And it was almost like, now I give everything to this relationship. And what you did was you just cut off all the channels that was giving you a potential oxygen, the opportunity to really be sounding boards. And very slowly, bit by bit, you were engulfed into a different world where your NGG was sucked out. And now what I heard is that his partner said to him, I am no longer in love with the man I fell in love with. Well, that's normal. She sucked the marrow out of you. You're no longer the guy. Therefore, it's not going to work. So you have a problem. But then you have also the opposite. The partner who is so strong, who would say, well, that's it. You had enough time now to heal. Now heal now or else. He is playing the bully and setting time schedule on someone having to change. And that too is a problem. Mm. And so that is not how we help change. Helping change is a dance of acceptance, of unconditional acceptance, that the person has got to take their time to go through it, because being is different to doing. Mm. My book, I think it is the essence of hard leadership. I talk about there's a difference between doing and being. Doing, you look at someone making a cake, you can replicate. But being, it's deep. Mm. Being, a part of yourself has to change. Unless that part of yourself changes, there is no being.
That's exactly right.
Go back to the old ways.
Exactly right. One of my favorite things that I've discovered recently, and I've made so many times I can't even count how many times I've said it, is you have to do the inside work to then do the outside work. And a lot of people just want to change the surface and make it look pretty, but they don't want to go into the deep side of the being side, what you're talking about, Thomas. A lot of people don't want to go there, but you can't move forward from where you are. If you can't do the inside, you will not do the outside. It might be momentarily or, you know, whatever, but it will never last. So you have to do that inside work.
All right. So we've brought this up a couple of times, right? We've brought up this about inside work, don't do the surface stuff, go deep, all that sort of stuff. Now, what are we going to say?
Have awareness.
Inside work, Botox.
Right, right. Where do you say to people to start? What is something they can do now to help them with that really, you know, internal realization of, you know, where they need to go or what they need to do, or is there something we could say to these?
Now you're going to the why. We've done the why, right? So you have to go back to the why, because unless those whys that we've covered are not done, that doesn't matter anyhow, right? What is it they say? If people have no why, no how matters. I've seen this. It's been almost 3 months since we've come back from our seminar where I did my first NGE conference. And I said, in the failure of some of our leaders in terms of changing their NGE, I see 3 groups who failed. And the first group is the group who intellectualize NGE. there's a lot of people who go to seminar, they intellectualize, if you want to change, you have to do this, like stillness, ego is the enemy. And they go, oh, yeah, ego is the enemy. And it's an intellectual kind of process. They hear that, but they don't even know what is stillness. They've never experienced the beauty of stillness. They don't even know how to get there, but intellectually they do this. And so I see these leaders who have intellectualized NGE, and they can tell everyone, in the book NGE, it says this. But hold on, you're not a living entity of non-NGE. I'm not saying that everyone is clean of NGE, me, a first culprit, but at least is your NGE cleaner today than the NGE of you a month ago? And so I said also the second group are the people who they go through enough, but when they see that the change is starting to force so much pain into them, they just back out. And in that respect, that's a second group. And the third group is mainly a group that is just doing surface. They do the bit that they like, and then they stop because the other bits, they don't need to change that. So they don't see that. But to me, I think the worst group is the intellectualization that NGE or any other personal change at a deep level is being, not doing, not understanding, but knowing. There is a huge difference between knowing and understanding. I can understand, but until I know, understanding doesn't matter.
Yeah, I read a quote in this research which said, faced with a choice between changing one's mind and proving there is no need to do so, almost everybody gets busy with the proof, because people just are so set in their ways. They don't think or feel there's a need to change. And when they're faced with a challenge to change, they come up with every reason why they don't need to or have to, so to speak. So yeah, it's interesting. How else can we give people a how mechanism? Like, one of the things I think I found helpful was, and it was a little bit of advice I gave somebody the other day, is a lot of people are quick to react. Someone says something, most people shoot from the hip, or they don't think and stop. And one of the things that I said to this person was, and we've learned it in the seminars, when there's a stimulus, there's always a response. But in between that stimulus of what happens and your response, you've got a moment there where you can pause. And in that time is where you can hold the power of change. Because rather than stimulus, response, what you're doing is you're just relying on your old models of how you think, feel, work. If you just give yourself that time to go, okay, there's a stimulus, I feel like I'm going to respond this way, but I'm going to stop, pause, and I'm going to think, I'm going to do it differently, I'm going to say it differently. There's the power to change right there. But you've got to be so aware of, because it's so easy, and I catch myself doing it all the time. Something happens, someone says something, and I'm like, blah, 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 and then I go, hang on a minute, come back, go back to your position where you can make a change here. You've got to pause and think about it. Just don't respond for the sake of responding.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Chris.
No, I was saying to Lou, I never thought of it that way, and I like that actually. That delay in answering a question, or you have those conversations with people that they're ready to answer before they're finished listening to what you've got to say, and the changing with yourself and sort of being better is listening to the other side and actually absorbing what others have got to say. I think it's a very good point.
Yeah.
Thomas gave the drill in.
So that again, Cam, I missed that.
Gave the exercise in Noosa, and I tried it. That didn't last a second, but it was go out next time someone speaks, wait a second before you respond. Apparently I'm bad at cutting people off, but that's one of the notes I've written from Noosa. The only note I wrote from Noosa was wait a second before you speak, and then
How come you're not doing that?
Hey?
How come you're not doing that anymore?
Well, it was going to go. No, it was going to go. It was going to go to my next point whenever I could get a word in, which was how is understand that you're going to stuff it up.
Yeah.
Okay with it.
Maybe Fred.
Someone says I'm going to quit smoking, and then a week later they have a cigarette, and all of a sudden they go back to smoking a packet a day because they say, "Oh well, I was going to quit, but I stuffed up, so I might as well go." Or I said I wasn't going to drink tonight, and I've had one, so now I'll have 40, right? Understand that change. You can't click you can click your fingers and change your mindset to change. You can click your fingers and say, righto, from now on, I'm going to do my best to change, but understand that you're going to stuff it up. You are going to go backwards, and you are going to have times where you go, shit, I haven't gone anywhere. And you've got to be okay with that, because if stuffing it up's enough, if missing one day of training's enough to let you ruin your health for the rest of your life, then you're no chance of actually changing, because no one bats 1,000, right? We all, as good as we all are, we all still fall back occasionally into old habits or old ways or old anything. So my how is accepting the fact that, and being aware of the fact that it isn't a smooth trajectory to your next self. It's a
That's a great point, Cam. I think out of all the bloody podcasts.
Why aren't I doing the 1 second anymore? Because you fall backwards. You do.
Don't be afraid to fail. That's
Yeah. Be scared of it. No, it's not even being afraid of it. It's knowing that it is going to happen. It is 100% going to happen. 100%.
Exactly. And like I said at the beginning, even a change for good comes with discomfort, something.
Everything we've spoken about.
Yeah.
Everything we've spoken about. Pick up a book. You're not going to like it the first time.
I'm a bit scared though, Cam, that way of thinking allows sometimes some people not to really change.
Yeah.
Because they go, just understand you're going to stuff up. And a year later, they're still stuffing it. I mean, there's people with whom I said more energy when you're talking to the team, and a year and a half later, they're still doing it. So I know straight away the translation is somewhere lost. So I'm not so sure for me that is fine. Yes, it is okay.
You're interpreting as that as they're falling off the horse.
Fair, but I don't think it's enough. If some people, it becomes a participation medal.
You are interpreting that as someone's fallen off the horse and they're not trying to get back on it.
Yeah, it's not
What I'm saying is you're going to have to try and get back on the horse.
Let's put it this way. Let's give me this example. Let's imagine we're talking to a guy and we say to him, as someone who is leading a team or managing a team, your intonation when you talk to them has to be so upbeat and so up. And you keep on going and he doesn't change or she doesn't change. What do?
It's not for you to do. It's for that person to do.
I think it comes back to what we said previously about.
No. So what do you do, Chris?
Well, I think that again, it comes back to the teacher will appear when the student is actually ready for that information.
Okay, so the student's not ready then to lead or manage.
You
Okay,
better
I'm being led now. I'm being led to a point now.
Look, I
think most people would manage when the pain's great enough. And I think until that pain's great enough, and we said it before, humans do things for pain or pleasure, right? We know that as the basis of our existence.
You have to introduce pain, is that what you're saying? Because
it's often, right? I haven't sworn again since I haven't paid for the dinner yet.
I'm just trying to understand.
Hey, saying to someone, you need to get your energy up, that's very subjective, right? Because if that someone feels like they're talking with a lot of energy, then maybe they don't understand that the rest of the outside world doesn't see it as energy. But you can't. That example you used, and I know why, but it's very. I know why.
We all have worked it out, mate. We all worked it out. I reckon Australia's worked it out.
No one intentionally goes into anything and says, "I'm going to sit here and talk with down energy." Because
to stop every podcast, you have an attack on Louise, and did not attack.
No, but you raise a good point. If we're giving people advice, does it need to be clearer, more specific, or what? But no one intentionally in that example, and he's talking about me, goes into a meeting or a discussion to be down in energy and whatever. That's not. It can't. If that's your intention, then you shouldn't have the name badge that's on you. But trying to change that.
This brings me back to a conversation I had with Cameron. I don't know, it would have been quite a while ago. And Cameron goes, I need feedback with a bat, with a cricket bat. Built it over the back of my head so I get the feed. You said that to me, Cam. I'm sorry.
No, it's got to be a bat, but the bat's got to have a label and a specific set of instructions on it.
Right, You need to
No, I'm
belt
just
it
going to hit
into
you
him.
with a bat.
So, like the punishment lunch was like the cricket bat, right? So if you were needing to have more energy, TL, we need to buy you maybe a sports store.
No. Who defines what more energy is? That's what I'm saying is, and I'm not trying to get out of it.
You have a look. Every time that Louise does a podcast, the energy is up.
Anyway, look, I think let's talk about this for a second.
Oh, anyway.
I think this is important though. Seriously, guys. I think what people need to realize is it's hard enough to change yourself, and we've all come to that conclusion already. But expecting other people to change, I think that's a big thing. Because we all have situations, relationships, and I'm not just talking husband and wife, I'm talking parents, children. When you expect somebody to change, you can and they're not going to, and they won't until they're ready. But if you live wanting that person to change, you're going to wear yourself out until that person's ready. So you've got to be comfortable with the fact that that person may never change. What I'm talking specifically, to give you some context, growing up, I remember, like, my mum's an alcoholic, like 6 a.m, starts drinking, doesn't stop till midnight, every night, still to this day. Nothing's going to change. But as a kid growing up, that was the most frustrating thing in my life, because all I wanted was a normal mum who didn't drink. But you wear yourself out trying to make that change, and then suddenly you get to a realization or an age, you go, I can't never make this person change. This person's got to want to change. And until whatever pain or realization comes along for that person to change, they're never going to change. And you have to accept that in yourself. Now, whether you're in a husband-wife relationship, similar situation to what I just said, or a friend even, you've got to be okay and accept that sometimes you just got to love people anyway, and it's up to them to make that change. Do you know what I mean?
Now you're talking about family and the whole lot. Yeah, there's no problem. I understand it, but we're talking in change in general. I think
I know.
you have to love a person until they make the change, but there are changes that are so imminent. I mean, I was talking to that mate of mine, and his wife actually had been giving him signals about change for months. And he went into drinking and all that stuff, and depression, and he said he didn't want to listen. And he said to me one thing today, and that was my lesson for the day. He went into denial, because he said, no, that's not true. I don't do that. I don't drink to drown my sorrow and things like this. And when he woke up to that was when she said, that's it, I'm moving out. And now that was reality. And so sometimes, all of this talk and all of these, you change when you're ready, the whole lot. She said, I'm moving out. The bloke changed. The bloke went into, I'm going to change, I'm going to do it. But no, because talking about you changing and still going online or Insta to do stuff, and that is the same as before, it's not going to change. Oh, yeah, but that's how it's not going to change. And so I felt for him, because I said to him, have you somewhere lost all of those things that made you before the marriage? And he said, yes, I did. Because in trying to love her, I gave it my all. I cut off my friends, I cut off this. And suddenly when I needed to talk to a friend, I didn't have them anymore. Remember, I had to call him to find out how he was. I'm the one who messaged him this morning and said, are you okay? Because I obviously heard about it. And I was a chicken this morning, mainly because at 9 o'clock I had to be on stage, and I thought, man, I don't want to have my head done. So I just sent him a message, but really, I should have picked up the phone. And within 10 seconds of the message gone, he gave me a call. And I feel for that, because it didn't have to go that way. But in many ways, it may be too late, Here is my how about how things can be changed. First, you make a commitment to a loved one, someone that is really important to your life. I think you make that commitment from here on. These are the things I'm going to be doing. Then I like the part that Cam said earlier. which is you have to then cut the change into a smaller parts. Don't go, I'm here and I'm going to be there tomorrow. No, cut it into small part. Help me, and in a month, this is where I'm going to be. And then number 3, you have to celebrate. If you link those 3 things, celebrate together, because then you have someone who wants to help you change. You just got an ally, because in life, in the end, there's always what's in it for me. It doesn't matter whatever level, it is what's in it for me, you know? So if you get an ally, cut change into small bits and celebrate, I think it's a very good formula for change.
I love that.
Yeah, it's good.
One of the things I learned when I was doing bonsai and I was learning a new skill and so forth was, and my mentor at that time, he said to me, he goes, don't be scared to teach others what you know. So while I was going through that change of learning a new skill and was actually creating a very new friend group, I started to break a lot of my own boundaries in teaching others and so forth and helping others. So I think if you can help others, and obviously people that need help not lower than you, that are worse off than you, if you can help others, that will also help you in sort of reminding yourself of what you need to do.
Yes, good.
I think sometimes the problem is, you know, I tell people to pick up a book, they read one book and think they know it all, so they start prophesizing to everyone around them. So I think the important thing in what you said, Chris, is you can only, or maybe should only, try and give advice to people that are not at the same level as you.
But Cam, I see no problem with someone who carries around like they know everything once I've read a book. I prefer that than the ignorant that they were before.
Oh, well, I disagree, because you told everyone that first heard about NGE, do not leave this room and go and start talking to people about NGE. Your words.
Anyway, for those of you who are on Facebook Live, this is the time, right?
Hang on.
The first Mr. Wong is the time. I'm looking at it. Where's the first Mr. Wong?
Was it you, Chris?
Thank you very much. Thank you, baby. Thank you very much.
Well, congratulations, Oshin, you're in.
Oh, no way. That's rigged.
You're a man of less values than I thought.
No, I'm sorry, Hoang. You could have asked me who would I like to invite, because I'm paying for it. And I actually, funnily enough, would have said Oshin. Funnily enough, I already had it in my head. But you didn't give me a chance. You stole that opportunity from me. I feel robbed. That's not helping me grow. Unbelievable. You deserve a punishment dinner. Are we all in agreement? Thank you very much. Done.
You sounded very much like an auctioneer right then.
Funny thing that.
We just, without getting into an argument, TL, can we clarify the previous point? Because I don't think people should pick up a book and then run around and start hitting people over the head with it.
Well, but on that side, it's human nature.
I understand it's human nature to do it, but should people do it?
No, they shouldn't, because when it comes to doing, they can. But when it comes to being, it's too bad to do that. Being, first you have to be, and then the other person can be. Anyway, the two of you can make a decision. I'm not going to make that decision. Should Oshin be there, or should she not be there? You make a decision.
I think I was doing this as a gag to invite Oshin, because I knew she was on here, and the amount of work she puts in that office, she deserves to come.
No, because if somebody else wrote in before her, see, this is where I'm really impartial. She would have lost. But she got
if someone else wrote in before her, then I would have said, okay, there's something different. But you know what? She's been sitting
right
there.
Now, the only person who wrote in before her was you. So
listen, I have my phone here with my finger on it for the last half an hour, waiting for you to speak. I had it set up. Anyway.
I have an issue with it, because Oshin only drinks rum and coke. And
she doesn't drink rum and coke. She drinks a Captain.
Morgan.
Captain Morgan's a rum, mate. It's rum.
It's a rum, spiced rum.
It's a rum. So, Ocean, we're going to culture your palate, mate.
You good with that, Lou?
Yeah, I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
So let's go back to what you were saying, Cam. What were you saying?
Well, I was saying that teaching people, yes, and it's one of the keys to learning something. First you learn it, then you implement it, then you teach someone else it, and that's supposed to be how you memorize it. But I think the key to that is first you learn it, then you implement it before you start preaching it to the whole world. There's too many. It goes back.
If you want to teach Isaac something and you told him not to go and teach it until he mastered it, but he's so excited he runs around and then tell people, how would you feel?
Mate, Isaac's 11.
Okay. Participation medal's got an age. I get.
Hey? No, but on the question, how would I feel? How would I feel that he's got the mindset to try and help other people? Brilliant.
To me, it's not a big deal. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not.
No, that's all right. I was asking. And then, but does that change on the
However, if I said to them,
on the level of the information, does that rule change based on the level of the information?
the reason I believe that they shouldn't have done it is because it's dangerous. Like
That's
I
what I
saw,
mean.
there were some leaders in the room today with the managers, and I got quite a bit of feedback that the managers loving it. But then I got a bit of feedback, and I saw that the leaders, some of the leaders in the room, it was almost the first time for them. So I'm only thinking, you haven't been doing the exercise yourself. You haven't put in the work. You haven't gone back and said, all right, he's saying first step before you start your NGE journey is to set up your mastermind group. They haven't even done that. You know, they haven't even done and sat down the awareness exercise every single day just to see what it is. And to me, when it comes to being, unless you are, don't preach. Two things going to happen. They're going to see you as a phony. And at some stage, you're going to start seeing yourself as a phony.
But deep down, you know. Deep down, you know whether what's coming out of your mouth is what's real or fake. And the problem is we will ignore that. We'll ignore the inside person. We talk about inside, outside for as long as it takes, because the accepting the truth of the matter is too hard. And that goes back to why change is so hard.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it's easier for people to swan around bullshitting people. We haven't crossed that word off this yet. For some reason, it's easier to go around living as a fraud than it is to actually go, well, why don't I just try and be who I propose or purport to be, you know, for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't understand the pain, and I don't think they understand the pain.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of egos involved. When people earn something, they think they need to spruik it because it makes them look better, it makes them feel better.
But the problem is, Chris,
it comes back to their NGE, and it's a whole circle of crap that they're getting into and spreading the wrong information.
The silly part of it is, though, we're the smartest beings on the planet, mate. And we talk about, I train my staff to say, don't ever pretend to be something you're not, and don't ever lie. Don't even bend the truth, because whether they realize it or not, the other person is picking up on that. So we're running around the world BSing to ourselves and BSing to everyone else and thinking we've got everyone fooled. And I think part of us even knows that everyone knows we're full of it.
Everyone's realizing it.
But we keep doing it anyway because no one's called them out on it or whatever it is. And that, I think that's how you get to 50 or 60 years of age, making the same mistakes you made when you were 20. And that comes back to your association. No one sat you down and said, listen, enough's enough. And
But
how anyone's gonna know how people can really implement change. All right, then I'll go with my next one. My next one is you need to make sure that you revisit your lessons every day. I think that most people do some work and then it goes into a book they never reopen. I have done some work on my belief on about not the need for respect, I have done some work on, I've got a set of beliefs and alternatives on my fear of, my guilt, and my anger, which is my number one thing. And until it becomes part of me, second nature, I'm rereading it every day. And it's the best, to me, it's the best routine you can do. When you start the day and you read that, I think that you really can do that.
How do you know it's become second nature to you?
I'm sorry?
How do you know it's become second nature? Like, ideal in theory, but if I had to revisit, and I should, and I clearly don't, but if I revisited every single thing I'm trying to work on at the moment, it's a 400-page book, which I can't read in half an hour anymore, you know?
I think that you need to just work on a few things. We spoke about it earlier, Ken. Cut these into small parts. So 400, go down to 4. And go until you have the 4 most important. Because at some stage, you're going to find out that when you work on the 4 most important ones, the 400 may come down to 340. Because
what's the click for second nature?
And the second nature is when that's where you go first. As long as you still go into the other one and you go, no, that's not where, it's not second nature. Until you go there first, you don't. I was talking about NGE today, and I said to them, if you only did this one thing, you never have NGE, and that's called unconditional forgiveness. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't do that. They forgive, but as long as you don't do it again, it's called conditional. Or they forgive, but they are judge. If I see you doing that again, that they become a judge rather than someone who really forgive. And I said, it is just crazy. A lot of people talk about, I don't do unconditional forgiveness. I do it easily with some people, and with some people, I can't do it.
I think with
that means to me I need to grow.
I think the big one with unconditional forgiveness, Thomas, also is important for you as an individual. We have to make peace with the past. You know, we've obviously made mistakes and misdeeds along the way, and we've hurt people and people have hurt us, but we've got to come to a place of making peace with the past, because even the most, when you look back on your life and some things that you've done and or people have done to you, you've got to get to that level of unconditional forgiveness and make peace with that, because even the most courageous person in the world won't step forward if they can't make peace with that past. So I think that's a big how for people. You've got to make peace.
And in covering that part that you spoke about, it was in the book, I think on around page 97, where about make peace with the past.
Yep.
There was a beautiful line that I said, the past is nothing but a list of memories. That's the past. The past is nothing else but your memories.
So how do you make peace with the past?
So we start talking about forgiving yourself first.
It's a grand statement. It's a grand statement, but where does someone start with that?
Well, forgive yourself. I stuffed up. I accept that I stuffed up, and if I had to redo it, I would do it totally differently. I think that's the bit. And every time that they feel a sense of guilt, every time they think about it, they have not made peace with the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it's a big, easier said than done thing, but it is. It's very, very hard. But, you know, like, for example, there's things that I've done as a mother, and I think, God, like, I should have done things differently. But I remind myself I did the best I could with what I had at the time. And that's how I come to make peace with the past. Like, I should have done more or done things a certain way or whatever. But and then that's just a very, it's not small, it's significant, but there's much other bigger things that people have.
Leo, you said if you still think about it, you haven't made peace. So in that instance, Louise still hasn't made peace with the past.
But again, now we started to talk very complex. Okay, so let's imagine this: someone has got an aggro with her father. Her father has done certain things, and she's really doing some work to forgive her father. But her partner is a guy that keeps on saying, yeah, but I know your father, and he's being sarcastic, and your father is dead, so he hasn't changed. All he's doing is reinforcing the triggers for her not to change.
Yeah.
And now the poor girl, she's trying to change it. She can't change it because these guys keep on hitting the same button every single time. And now he's doing the same thing as the father. And so suddenly now she latches on. But he doesn't understand she latched on because you were the culprit that actually found a funny side to keeping it going. So we now combining the fact that quite often it is our partner that is stopping us from changing. Yeah. And yes, there are times when I think about certain things and I go back there, I go, no, I need to do some more. And this is what NGE is not this kind of formula. It's more like a COVID formula. You have the vaccine and you may not get COVID. You may get COVID, but at least you're doing something about it. It's about cleaning your house. If you clean your house, it's clean. But that doesn't mean it gets dirty again. How does the house get dirty? Because you're doing the same thing. If you keep on walking through the house with boots that are dirty, the house is going to get dirty. If you keep on thinking and revisiting the same garbage that you've done in the past, that person's going to go back there. I think if this is the biggest problem sometimes, and I said that at the beginning, NGE partners is huge because you want to change, your partner doesn't want to change because there is something in it for him to keep you a slave to the past. And because, and quite often, I said about something today in terms of NGE, it's like the kid that didn't have the toy, who would destroy the other person's toy so that both of us got no toy.
Yeah.
We're almost up, guys. What sort of last sort of bits of wisdom are we going to impart? Yes, great chat.
I'll start first. I think that change has to start from within, but don't do too big. Take one baby step at a time, but make sure that one baby step, you never go back at it again. Once you've done that change, you must maintain it and you revisit it, and you don't think it's a one pill that fixes all. It's really about the cleaning of the house that needs to be done on the weekly basis.
I'll go next. I think this is an old Zig Ziglar saying, if you do things that are easy, life will be hard. If you do things that are hard, life will be easy.
I like it.
It's good.
Cam?
I've decided, look, know what it is you want to change, understand that you're not going to get there overnight. Once you fall off the horse, because you're going to fall off the horse, get back on it, keep going.
Yeah, good.
Nice.
Renee? Louise?
You're so funny.
We love you.
So funny, Chris. Like what we've covered and what Thomas said, I think the most important thing is you've got true change can only happen when you're authentically you, and you can be aware fully of there's a difference between doing and being, and I think that's the big thing. A lot of people do, a lot of people aren't being. So you've got to be authentically you. And one of the things that I learnt, if you imagine a straight line, for example, and you're the line, and at any moment where you feel this person is superior to you or that person is inferior to you, you're doing ego. And it's a very simple way to look at when you go through your day or your life and you want to be aware. You know, like I said, it's the power's in the pause when it comes to stimulus and response, but it's a simple little exercise that I started a few months ago, and I thought, whenever I'm feeling this person is superior to me or this person is inferior to me, I'm acting out of ego. I want to just remain that neutral line, and that line in my mind is my authentic self. And so I've really tried to do that, and it's helped me a lot. So I think start from within, and then everything on the outside will change.
Beautiful, beautiful. Which your story reminds me, in 1998, I went and saw Wayne Dyer, and he said every time he receives a very nice letter from a fan saying nice things about him, he say, just an imposter. And every time he receives a criticism from a fan, he reads it, he say, another imposter. He does not allow either good or bad feedback from external source to change who he is inside. 1998, top quality. Thank you very much for today, guys.
Very good.
Amazing ambassador. Well done, Louise. finalist Office of the Year, and Oshin, well done, fully deserved it. I saw it. You followed from about 6:01. There is no Captain Morgan.
I got I got 3/4 of a bottle sitting on my bar. I'll bring it. All good. They're good. I cater to all tastes.
Thank you very much, Leopold.
Guys, later.
Yeah, bye.
See you guys.